You're protected by the Almighty.
Yeah, I am. I know. Because I love God. And I love God. That's it.
That's all you need.
Yeah, I was watching a video of Khabib today. And I'm like, why does he resonate with so many young men? Why does he have something I want? What is it that he has? He has the fearlessness because he has such a strong belief in God. That's what he has.
You think that's the key to the whole thing?
He's willing to die for God.
Mm. So you have to be mujahideen?
Mujahideen or be willing to live for God. And that's the philosophy I'm kind of...
It takes more courage.
What do you mean?
To live than to die.
Oh, yes, it takes more courage, actually.
To choose to live.
Oh, yes.
Than to die. Like,
oh, yes.
Dying is
a
wonderful moment of glory.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Actually, the Romans, they liked the warriors who... more courageous warriors, one who lived more.
Mm-hmm.
Because dying is just take a few stabs and that's it. But to live, you had to think. You had to survive.
And you suffer more.
And you suffer more.
Yeah. Like I remember when I was younger, like when I wanted to join the military, some of the my thinking was a kind of round the houses suicidal ideation.
Wow.
I realise now. I didn't think it at the time, but that's what I was looking for, and that's, you know, the desire to check out, the desire to be. The world's hard. It's really hard. What is it? What did you call it in Arabic?
Dunya.
Dunya is the material world.
Yeah.
And the world beyond is?
Al-Akhirah, which roughly Dunya translates to this life, or translates to world. World. Al-Akhirah translates to after, hereafter.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the discipline of Islam is to continuously redirect your mind to the other world. Away from this world.
Yes. وَإِنَّمَا الْآخِرَ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى. That's a verse in the Quran which is, and the next is better for you than the now.
The next is better.
Yeah, the next is better. What's coming is better.
So then an Islamic worldview is 1 foot in the other world.
Aha. But in the same surah or chapter for everyone else who's listening, the message driven home is, you will be given in this life as well. And you will be able to talk about the blessings of your Lord in this life as well. Mm-hmm. So we keep our focus on the next life. But here, it is an impartial world, and we must strive.
So I think like when you look at somebody like Khabib, when you say about striving in this world, it's not just faith in God, it's not just willingness to die for God, which he has said.
Yeah.
He would die for his country, he'd die for his family, he'd die for his faith, and I believe him.
Yeah.
You can also say he's worked pretty hard in this world, and that's important.
Yeah.
Pushed it to the limits of hard work.
I'm almost disgusted by the idea of a young man who would not exert himself and give his 100% in order to make income, because in a way, like you mentioned, it's a jungle. It's like, well, you work hard and this is what you get. Mm-hmm. It sounds perverse to think that you could just sit there, not work hard, and things come to you. Nothing. It's not about working hard. It's more like that you could sit there, not provide value, and just expect to be rewarded, like to live like some kind of sage or renounce the world. It's like, well, no.
Well, I mean, if you're going to renounce the world, then renounce it. Yeah. But don't be half in, half out. You can't have it all ways. You can't be like, oh, I'm not going to go to work today because I've renounced the world, and then 12 hours later be looking on Instagram. And like, if you're renouncing it, then you got to renounce it. You got to go all in. I wonder. I think Khabib is an interesting character, and I think he's compelling for multiple reasons. But you will have experienced this in your own life when you do a lot of physical training that's very, very vigorous to the point where your mind goes blank because your body is so exhausted. You probably had moments of the same level of certainty and groundedness that he lives in 24/7, or seems to live in 24/7. Like, you have been to where he is.
Yeah.
It's just that you came back from it. And it's probably just, a lot of it is, it's faith, but it's also just a brutal work regime as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that feeling. I love the feeling going back home, dragging back my feet, sleeping in my bed. The simple things make you so much happier. Just eating good food, a nice soft bed.
Yeah.
What a blessing.
Yeah.
What a blessing. The ability to just wake up the next day, your body's sore from training, but then you can go and, yeah. I don't think there's much of a philosophy there. It's just like you've mentioned to me before in our conversations, it's the practicality. Sometimes the most practical thing is just being able to train really hard and then go to bed.
Yeah. Feels good.
It feels good.
Jeff Thompson said that to me once. I had the pleasure of meeting him, and I went to his house after we trained, and had a cup of tea and a Jaffa cake in his kitchen. And he was like, it's nice, isn't it? Like, after you've trained really, really hard, the tea tastes better.
Everything tastes better.
The Jaffa cake tastes better.
Yeah.
You feel good. Yeah. He's a religious guy. He was the same guy who said to me, no matter what you do, make sure you have God in your corner.
Love that.
Whatever you do, have God in your corner, because then you're protected. And even if you can almost adapt that to like an atheist view. If somebody's not particularly a faith-based person, but they take the metaphor poetically for doing the right thing. You're behaving righteously. You behave with nobility, and you have, virtue in your corner.
Yes.
Let's say.
Yeah.
It's still, life works, and you become more certain, you become more courageous.
I agree.
In that situation, I was wrong, but I'd been led to believe that there was a group of, I was only 19, that there was a group of doormen who were looking to batter me. Because I lived in Birmingham city centre, and there's a situation that was ongoing, and I was told people who wanted me to behave a certain way lied to me and said that this group of guys who I knew, they know you, they're going to come to where you live in your student accommodation and batter you. And I told him I was afraid, and he said, whatever you do, make sure you have God in your corner. The way that was resolved was I saw one of these guys in a Muay Thai class, and I said to him, I hear you and your boys are going to come and batter me. Maybe we should have a conversation about this. And he laughed. He said, mate, I don't even know who you are. I've never heard of you. I don't know you. I became friends with him.
Wow.
Yeah, a guy called Marcus, this big, tall black guy. And he was just laughing. He was like, no, you're all right, mate. I've never heard of you. You're all right.
Probably one of the most reassuring laughs you've heard.
Yeah, I was like, I lived with this terror that they were going to burst through my door and batter me at any moment.
Interesting. I lived with a similar fear. I want to share something.
Go ahead.
I think one of the best feelings is being content with my own death, for me personally. I think what you said earlier about having God in your corner, it's not a big deal. I'm diabetic, right? And sometimes my blood glucose goes low, which puts me into a bit of a panic at times, because at times it can be a little bit more severe and I may pass out. The times where I panic the most are when I've been a bit of a cunt. Right? I panic the most because I say, I don't want to die like this with all of this filth in my metaphorical soul bank account.
The karmic bank account.
My karmic bank account.
Out of whack, yeah.
Yeah. I don't really think I have anything I would die for. But the best feeling is knowing that I'm ready to die. I wouldn't say I don't fear death, but it's as much fear as would be humanly sane in order to avoid fear. I think from almost an evolutionary perspective, the cleaner I live, the cleaner I live. And that's why I hate the woke culture. I'm talking about this new woke culture, which says there is no wrong, there is no right. The cleaner I live, the more at peace I am, the more certain I am. Just wanted to share that.
You speak fluent English, but there's archaic English phrases that I use that you're not familiar with. But you know God-fearing, right? You know that, like, we used to say that somebody was God-fearing and it meant that they were righteous. You didn't, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I knew that now.
Yeah. What you just said, it reminded me of boarding school. So sometimes at boarding school, I'm for hard boundaries for kids. I'm for a degree of strictness for kids. Strictness with good humour, but strictness. When I was at boarding school, we used to have 2 hours in the evening to do our homework, and we all did our homework because we were all in a room together in total silence. We had fuck all else to do but do homework. And if you didn't do it or you messed around, the master of the house would go berserk. And he would scream and shout at you, and he would put the fear of God into you. This is another English expression. If an adult screams at you, they put the fear of God into you. And I lived the experience multiple times of having the fear of God put into me, and then afterwards being calm, being very, very calm. And if in our daily lives, you and I, if every day we had the fear of God put into us, we wouldn't be as silly, and we would lose the silliness, which would be a shame, but we'd also be a lot calmer, and you'd be a lot more resolved. So there is something to that, like being resolved with your death and fear of God.
Yeah.
So fear of God was considered like they're good God. You could say they're good God-fearing people.
I love that because we have that in Arab and Muslim culture.
Oh yeah.
If someone is about to do something that's really messed up, or they're going against some type of family value that's been there for a long time, you'd commonly hear "Khaf Allah," or like "Ma tkhaf rabbak," which means fear God, or don't you fear God?
Yeah.
It's like there's repercussions, man.
Yeah.
How are you going to die peacefully with this? Because when I think going a step further is, when I talk about God, it's not just about what I'll experience in this life in regards to the punishment I would receive, but it's definitely the next life. It's definitely what happened. Like when I die, my soul is completely at the mercy of God. Like there's no doctor to fix my body. There's no bank account I take with me. There's nothing. It's just me and God. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So definitely when I hear God fearing like that, I love it. I love how the further back we go, the more commonalities we can find in religion, cultures, I guess. I don't know. I think that's why there's been such historical tension. It's what Freud called the narcissism of small differences. Christians, Muslims, and Jews fought more than Christians fought with Buddhists or with Jainists, or Muslims fought with, I don't know, Hindus. It happens today, but not as much. Not as much. And even then, where there's Muslim and Hindu fighting, India, Pakistan, that's also narcissism of small differences. The narcissism of small differences is you will take umbrage and become hostile with people who are more like you than less like you. You're just like me, so I have to fight you. You're not like me. You're foreign to me. Do what you want. You don't matter.
Yeah, you don't matter. Yeah. It's nothing to do with me. The hostility that exists in Liverpool between like Liverpool and Everton fans, they're the same people, but that's the hostility. Okay. You look Bosnia, Croatia, Serbia. These are, they won't like me saying it, but the genetic tests are in. They're the same people. They are the genetic. Sorry, sorry guys. Like it's science. They're the same people, but the ferocity with which they fight. So there is that commonality. There's no doubt. I mean, it's all, another thing that will upset people. Without Judaism, where would we be? We're all using the Talmud. We're all using the Torah originally, and I think it is interesting to see that commonality in which how people try to organize their lives, and then it became an argument. I always see it as like three brothers in one family, and they're fighting for the father's love. Who's got it exactly right? That's the big brawl. And then even inside their own households, there's fights. There's like fights within Islam. There's fights within Christianity. Fights in Judaism.
Yes.
But it's the eldest, the middle, and then the youngest brother, and they fight in the way that older brother, middle brother, younger brother fight in real families.
In real life.
It's the same power dynamic that you see playing out. The most passionate and the most ferocious is going to be the youngest.
Yeah.
The mediator, the peacekeeper, will be the middle child, and the most indifferent and the one with the most contempt for the father will be the eldest.
Interesting.
And Jews have that. In my humble opinion, there's like this. God is God. I mean, maybe they're not particularly trying to impress him. They've been around him for so long. They're like, you younger ones, you're too obsessed with trying to impress him. There's, I wouldn't say there's contempt for God, but there's familiarity.
Familiarity.
Yeah. Which in Christianity is abhorrent, and in Islam it's absolutely haram. Yeah. But in Judaism, no, they're not. To the point where, like, even within Judaism, I tried to find out, in Judaism, is there actually heaven or not.
Yeah, there's even atheist Jews, I read somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's atheist Jews.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
There's a whole there's a whole wide variety. So there are some Jews that believe in heaven, there are some Jews that don't, and then there's some Jews that say it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can't, like, I mean, in Christianity and Islam, that's not an option.
No way.
What I was saying earlier about Islam seems to be more towards the east, Christianity seems to be more towards the west.
Yeah.
Because of what you were saying is like this thing of the world as being temporary, and it's the world beyond that counts. That's really resonant with like Vedic philosophy, super resonant with that. And then last night I even saw there's the east-west polarity and tension between Christianity and Islam, and there's a day-night tension. There's a sun-moon tension. We're obsessed with the sun and the Son of God, the Son of the Sun.
The Son of the Sun.
It's a solar God.
Yeah.
And here it's Ramadan right now. There's stars and moons everywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think wasn't there revelation revealed through dreams?
I don't believe so. I don't know. I don't think so.
Dreaming isn't a significant part.
I don't think so, but there were maybe some type of prophetic visions, but revelation in reference to the Quran, from what is known, it came on via, there's a hadith that came on like the ringing of a bell.
Okay.
He would hear something. Sometimes Gabriel or Jibreel would come to him in person, the Prophet, peace be upon him. And the other one was just sometimes it would be a powerful experience. I mean, when the Prophet first saw Jibreel, he was in the cave. I'm sure you know the story. You've heard the story.
Go ahead.
The way I look at it is, here's a man who was meditating, who was thinking, who was pondering his existence. He was in the cave. Gabriel came to him and squeezed him and told him, recite, read, read, read. And whenever I remember this, I get goosebumps because I'm very visual, and I imagine this happening, and I imagine this authority that comes in and says, read, and then it says, read in the name of your Lord, the name of your Lord who created, and it's so beautiful. It moves me every time. Even in English, it sounds beautiful. But then when he left the cave, he saw Gabriel take up the whole horizon. So it was a very powerful figure. Why are we talking about this?
Go ahead.
I don't know why I'm talking about this. I'm not preaching. I think it's just, I'm just...
You're allowed to.
I don't know. I'm not. It's weird.
Let's do some proselytizing.
Yeah.
Repent your sins and turn to God. Go ahead.
Yeah. And then he was in a state of fear, actually, when this happened. But yeah, I think I genuinely... I remember going through an existential crisis. And I thought, oh, God doesn't exist, so nothing exists, so everything is meaningless. And I was about 14 when this happened. And then I remember having such severe panic attacks, and I thought, I must be living in some guy's computer. This is all just a simulation. And that thought instilled so much terror in me. It was this constant state of panic. And I remember opening the window. Sounds crazy. And I looked out the window, and I looked at the star, and I thought, if it's a simulation, then probably these stars aren't even real. And then I could swear I saw a star move. And I'm like, oh. Then I realized it was just a plane. And I went on this quest, essentially, to figure out if any of this is real. Am I real, and does God exist? Or is none of this real? And I delved into Buddhism a lot. The only thing that didn't make sense to me was, but there's still no God. There's no thought of God. It's almost irrelevant. It was almost irrelevant.
There are Buddhist sects that will turn Buddha into God, but I think that's contrary to core Buddhism. I think it is. And then I looked a bit in Hinduism, and I loved the New Testament of the Bible, but there were also a few things in there, but I'm like, yeah, but this doesn't prove God. It just sounds nice. It just sounds nice to read, you know. When I came back to Quran and Islam, is it because I'm Arab and I was raised around that environment and my mom was reading the Quran and it's all I heard? Probably that plays a role, but I think in my heart, I came back to the Quran because I'm convinced of it. I think when I do coaching with people, like this, the psychological angle I would take on it is, I've coached, I've coached a lot of Muslims over the years, a weirdly high number of Muslims over the years. And I would typically find myself at a point in the therapeutic relationship where it made sense to invite them to go back to their religion. 90% of them would say, I don't want to, I don't like it. My father was Muslim and he was abusive. My family abused me through it. And I would say, try to rescue the parts that you still do love, though. Can you pray? And they'd be like, what for? I don't believe in it, what for? And they'd be saying, why are you telling me to pray? I'm like, because the problems that I'm seeing here, as I take like a map, the constellation of problems, we can do this the psychological way, or you can ask God for help and pray, and it's going to be quicker. And they'll be like, well, I don't believe. I'm like, but there are parts of you that do. And in a certain sense, I don't think we get a choice. Like, I will always have a Christian worldview. Like, the majority of people who watch this, well, you'll bring Muslims will watch this. If you're raised Muslim, you have a Muslim worldview. There's nothing you can do about that. Yeah. It's in the hard drive now.
It's in the hard drive. Agreed.
So take the most atheist or like New Age spiritual person from the West. They're still doing their New Age spirituality. They're doing their Buddhism. They're doing whatever they're doing. Or if they convert to Islam, they're still doing it Christianly. Those stories, if you look at, it's fascinating the way like Christianity went into Japan. The Portuguese took Christianity into Japan. The Japanese caught the Portuguese and tortured them to death. They tortured the Japanese that converted to Christianity. But if people get a chance, it's well worth looking up. Just spend 15, 20 minutes just reviewing it. The Japanese that they got hold of first who would convert to Christianity were often illiterate and peasant class. And they converted Christ into a Japanese god.
Wow.
So they changed. The Portuguese were pulling their hair out. Like, we've taught you this way. And they go back 2 weeks later and the Japanese had turned Christ into like a Shinto figure. Because that's your cultural conditioning. You can't escape it. But by the way, the results I had with Muslim clients was really, really good. With Christian clients, if they were raised in a strongly Christian environment, Baptist Christians, Catholic Christians, Catholics, my God, who will come to me like, hate Catholicism, my father was an alcoholic, blah, 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 blah. Yes, I hear you, I understand you, but can you pray? And these are clients who have massive amounts of progress very, very quickly because, I'll preach now, their capacity to submit to God.
Yeah.
If you have that, it's almost like a superpower.
Yeah.
And I'm not, when I say submit to God, not switch your brain off and be a zombie.
Not at all.
Not at all.
No.
But
on the contrary.
Like, be God-fearing.
Yeah.
Know your place.
Yeah.
How can a person live in the world without knowing their place in the cosmology of everything? Dostoevsky said it. If God is not at the top of everything, who do you think goes at the top of everything? You do. I do.
Yeah.
It's a hellscape.
Disgusting.
It is.
Way to live. Yeah.
It's gross.
Yeah.
Because you're gross. I'm gross.
Yeah. We're human.
We're human.
We
full of
fart and we poop and we pee and
full of chaos and weird ideas. And weird
that's the first idea that came to me. Feces and urine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you really are creating a hellscape like that. So even though I jokingly said like people should repent for their sins and turn to God, I actually genuinely believe that. Whatever it means, like repent from sinfulness, say sorry for sin, ask for forgiveness, and then turn back to God. Whatever that means to you, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Christian, or whatever your faith is, seek righteousness, my God. Like, don't live like a disgusting, vile, self-indulgent consumerist sinner. All of consumerism is based on the 7 deadly sins. It's all greed and lust and sloth. And what I like about Islam, when I observe it, is an Eastern, almost a martial arts mentality to condition people.
Yes.
Every day, 5 times a day, this is what we're going to do. You are human, you're fallible, you're twisted. We straighten you. We're going to keep straightening you and keep straightening you and keep straightening you. And I've heard people say to me, like, oh, it sounds like it's really, really hard work. And I'm like, it sounds like relief to me.
Agreed. It is relief. Anytime I pray, I'm not doing it because God has asked us to pray. Actually, God says in the Quran, I did not create humans for only one purpose, that they worship. And then if you look and you're like, well, why do we worship? We worship for something called taqwa. What is taqwa? Taqwa is to be God-fearing.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Is that what it means, God-fearing? Taqwa?
Yeah, taqwa is God-conscious.
God-conscious.
So you're conscious that God is watching me all the time. How am I going to sin? How am I going to steal? How am I going to cause harm in the earth when God is watching me all the time?
I think I like when you say that, I know that there's a couple of ways of interpreting it. Like some people interpret it like naughty children with a parent, with a ferocious parent. I don't proselytize, but if I were to proselytize, I would say don't see it like that. It's not don't eat the tasty cake or do the fun thing because the angry parent will stop you. Take refuge and release and relief and peace in unity with God. It's not otherwise it's neurotic, it's strange.
Yeah, that's what we say in the Quran as well.
Right.
A'udhu billah minash shaitanir rajim. I seek refuge in God from the accursed devil.
Oh, okay.
And we say that at the beginning of any surah we're about to read. It tells us to.
I swear I'm more Muslim than I.
Yeah. I'm like
that's how I do it. That's how I do it. So if I
seek refuge in God.
If I can have a moment a few times a day, like 5 times a day is great, to feel unity, to feel unity with that which is, and for me that's God, because this is the world this is the Creator's world.
Yeah.
Then you're out for moments, maybe like for 2-3 minutes. I can be out of the material, the fight, the hustle, the bustle of everything, and just be at peace and be like, okay, everything's okay. It's a release, it's a relief, and the sinfulness is not like, oh, I don't get to eat the tasty cake, I don't get to do the wonderful thing. It's I don't have to suffer the pain of sin because it's pain. I think you have to have lived a while and had the option to sin quite a lot to then go, no, this is poison. It's
really bad.
I don't want to do this.
Yeah. Damn, that was nice.
Yeah. This is our the proselytizing podcast.
Yeah. I don't know what that word means.
It's where you preach and you try to convert people to your faith.
Oh, okay.
Why is it necessary?
What is?
Why have religion or God at all? What's the point?
Are you asking me?
You're in front of me. My eyes are upon you.
Yes. I would say, what else would you have?
Netflix, porn, Instagram, and Bugattis.
Lovely empty soul. I see that and I think, what an empty way. Have all that, but have God too, minus the porn.
Do you think Andrew Tate is a real Muslim?
Yes, I think he is. As soon as he got released, he said he was reading the Quran and doing push-ups. I think his character, funny enough we mentioned Andrew Tate because someone mentioned on one of my videos that it seems like you're worshipping Andrew Tate, blah, blah, blah. So many people love Tate. I'm like, here's what I think Tate brought. Throughout centuries, we've had mythologies and stories of a king who returns to destroy the chaos, like in Return of the King and Lord of the Rings. Me and you are both Lord of the Rings fans. Andrew Tate came in and he played the archetype of the king who's coming to restore chaos. These young guys, they felt lost, and the demons of this weird new age wokeism had taken over, and no one had the courage to say what he said. Was his delivery wrong a few times? Yes. He could have done some better PR. Did he create more good than harm? From what I'm seeing in regards to the young men, he's done more good. Young men are starting to realize, hey, I need to work hard. Hey, I need to make money. And those are good things. His webcam business with the women and all of that stuff, that's unethical. Or I don't like that.
Is it sinful?
Yeah, and if he was in front of me, I'd tell him, hey, man, that's pretty messed up. But it is what it is. It is what it is. I don't see myself as like a Tate supporter or a Tate fan. I'm just like, hey, he did some good for these young men. He was in prison for a really long time, 3 months, and I think that's just the way of the law. I don't think there was a matrix or a conspiracy. I think someone made a call and things conspired and things happened. I don't see it as the matrix. I think that's going a bit too far.
Why do you think somebody made a call?
Good question. I think the women were trying to exploit him to make money. There was even those messages that were leaked.
Yeah.
I think they were just trying to make money off of him. I don't think it's the matrix. I think it's just a selfish, exploitative, predatory woman who thought, hey, he's already said some things online that I could use to get him in trouble with, and I could make a lot of money. And he kind of did exploit me, which probably he didn't, because it would be really easy to find strong evidence on something like that, and it's not something that can be swept under the rug.
Yeah.
And they used that, and they went for him, and they latched their poisonous fangs into him, and they tried to screw him over and make money off of him.
But your intuitive sense is that his faith is authentic. He really converted to Islam here in Dubai.
Yeah, my intuitive sense is that he did convert to Islam. I do think, in my opinion, is he needs to delve deeper and do a bit more reflecting as to why he believes this is the truth. Is it the truth because, as he said in a few videos, it's the last strong religion on the face of this earth? There's still some really God-fearing Catholics around. But I think faith in anything, if I'm willing to put my soul on something, I better be really damn convinced it's the truth. And I won't go around needing to preach to people that it is the truth, because if it's the truth, and that's it. It's liberating. I don't need to. I can die now. I know the truth. Yes.
I wonder. We haven't had a statement from him since he's been released, but I wonder if he'll leave Romania now.
I think he would. Yeah. I think he's under house arrest apparently, so he can't leave now.
Can't leave.
Yeah, but
once this is over, I think he'll leave. I think he's being punished as well by the Romanian authorities because of the things he said about Romania.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have said that.
Shouldn't have said that.
And when he can escape, he should come here and you can interview him in this studio, in the Podster studio.
Yeah.
I bet he comes back. I bet he will come back here.
I bet he'll come back. Who knows? Maybe I will interview him.
What would you say to young men, as far as particularly to young Muslim men now, as far as faith goes?
Hold on to it. Don't become fanatic. Fanaticism never helped us. Be realistic and understand that the world is very dynamic, and there's good and there's evil. If you're working towards good, it's not in how you look. It doesn't matter if you have a beard. It doesn't matter if you shave your head. Compose yourself in such a way that if, I got this from you, if your children or your nephews saw you, they'd be proud of you. Yeah. I hope my nephews are proud of me. Yeah.
That's a good place probably to stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before I start crying.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, man.
Cheers.